Good morning. It's Lisa with Lisa Heal Yourself, and this is part two of, what happens when we hold on to our illness, when we're holding on to it, because we're afraid to let it go, because we have to love it. So if you haven't seen part one of this video that I'm doing, really, this is part two of it, then I would suggest you go back and watch part one, because it's really important to understand why you're holding and why sometimes people hold these illnesses and these symptoms and this pain and this suffering. And, it's really, you're loving this part of yourself, this story. We're resisting letting go of our story and letting go of the wound because we don't want to think that it didn't matter, that it was all for nothing, and that we don't matter. So today we're going to talk about this deep wound and how we can call our spirit back. Because what's happened is our spirit, your soul, whatever you want to call it, whether you want to call it your spirit or your soul, that part of you, that deep part of you that is you, the real you, your spirit, your soul has been lost. It's been lost to this pain, this suffering, this illness, this event, this wound. And we have to call it back. We have to take our power back, right? We're a victim. We're waiting for others to witness us, to see us, to validate us, to respect us, to be proud of us. And we're waiting. And we need to call that spirit back, because your spirit has all the power that you need in order to do this for yourself. But your spirit's lost. Your spirit is back there, and you're looking around waiting for somebody to give it back to you. So how do we call our spirit back? How do we call the spirit that's being held by the event, by the situation, by all the suffering, by all the pain, by all the loss, right? How do we call it back? Okay, so I want to divert for a minute and talk about how come people don't get over the loss of a loved one, like a parent or a child. And say you lost your child or something very horrific. You're holding on to the grief. As the years pass, it's all those dead years in there, what could have been, what should have been. It's hard to let go. We feel like if we let go of the pain, we let go of them, of their memory, of that it should have happened, of them. And it feels very disrespectful and dishonoring to let go of them. And we never want to let go of them. Therefore, inadvertently, we hold onto the pain because we feel that if we let go of the pain, it dishonors them somehow. And by dishonoring, letting go of the pain around them, we are also letting go of them, of the importance, of the significance of them, right? And we don't want to feel like that. That is something that we can't live with. The guilt and shame of letting go of their significance and their meaning. And it's the same thing that we do with our own illness and our own pain and our own suffering. We resist letting go of the illness or the pain or the suffering only because we also resist letting go of the significance of the meaning, that it mattered, that you went through it, right? Of your story, of that soul that died when that happened to you. It's almost like you can't let go of that memory or that moment or that significance, because if you let go of the pain, if you let go of the suffering, if you let go of the illness, you're also letting go of your old self. You're letting go of the part of you that needs you to be there, to comfort it, to love it, to be seen and to be validated and to be, to be held on to. So we find ourselves in this position where if we let go, much like a death, if you let go, you feel badly. Feel like you're letting go of the significance of how much that person meant to you. And in your illness, if you let go of the pain, right, of the suffering, then you're letting go of the significance of how much you mean to you, of how much you matter, of how much that mattered. And that shouldn't have happened, right? So it's almost like you're abandoning yourself when you choose to let go of the pain and the suffering. So just take this in a minute. Okay. So just like if you were a parent who lost a child, they gave your life significance and meaning. It was what your life was about. Your love for them. Your honor for them. And so people who eventually do let go, parents who let go of the death of their child, for an example, who find a way to move on and be happy and have great, fulfilling lives, the only way that these people, and the majority of these people do it, the people who just let go of the child and then subsequently never talk about that child, let go of the memory, they keep this inside, and it's very hard for them to ever move on, right? Their soul was lost. They needed to call back their soul in this healing, and they couldn't do it. So part of their soul stays forever with that child, and they can never move on, or they feel like they're dishonoring the child. But the people who can do it successfully are people who bring the memory of the child with them, but not the pain. Who bring the love that they had for the child with them, right? But not the loss, not the suffering, not the grief. So eventually, what ends up happening is that these people who end up having fulfilling lives with new children and new families and are able to move on and have a wonderful life, they've found a way to have peace and forgiveness in the situation where they've called their spirit back and they've said, I'm going to bring the memory of this and my love with me, the stories with me. I don't have to let them go, right? So they bring the stories with them of this child. It doesn't feel shameful to talk out loud about the child, to remember them, to post pictures of them, to keep pictures up, to keep their spirit alive. And that keeps their own spirit alive, and therefore they're able to move on because they feel like they have not dishonored this child by letting go of their memory or their love for this person. They feel like this person's still with them. They're still giving them the same amount of love that they always have, but they're moving on, and they also want to have a great life, but they don't feel like they're dishonoring or doing something wrong. So they bring that child's spirit with them. They bring all the love they had with that child. They feel no shame around continuing to show that for the rest of their life, that that child existed, that child mattered, that child, they loved that child. And this helps them heal. This allows that child to be witnessed forever, and that their love for that child is also witnessed forever. Maybe they celebrate special moments or memories or whatever along the way. And it allows that witnessing, that completion to happen. And it allows people to move on. So think about your chronic illness and your symptoms and your pain and your suffering. A lot of times when we let go of our sickness and our illness, we never talk about it again. It's like it didn't matter. It's like it didn't happen. It's like it was never to be spoken of again. So a part of you feels like your soul is stuck back there. A part of you has been lost, has been never witnessed, has died along with it, right? And you hold onto that, and you're never able to fully heal and to move forward and to grow and to create a new life, because this story is somehow dead to you now, and part of your soul is tangled up in that, and it's not allowed to come forward into the future. And so here's the key. When we actually heal our pain, our suffering, our illness, we must hang on to it. Now I know this sounds crazy, but we must hang on and give yourself permission to hold on to the part of you that needs holding on to from that story. You must hold on to the fact that it happened to you and that it mattered and that you mattered. And you can almost bring that story with you, but not the symptoms, but not the suffering, but not the pain. Bring the story, bring the significance of it forward. Maybe you write a novel about it. Maybe you tell your story on the internet. Maybe it's not shameful to talk about it, to have it brought up in your family or brought up amongst friends as just something that happened and now you've been able to go forward and create this great life, but you bring this with you. It's crazy. It's like when we try to let it go, that's what gives us the problem. Much like a parent trying to let go of the death of their child. They really feel like they're letting go of the significance of how much that love meant or that child meant. And you are having a hard time, believe it or not, giving up the significance and the love for yourself and for what that illness meant and how hard it was on you and how brave you were and how strong you were and how courageous you were. And, you know, it's something to be proud of that you lived through. And so you do need to bring it with you. Find a way to bring it with you. Bring the significance of the parts that matter to you forward. While letting go of the pain and the suffering, right, and the grief around it. So we bring forward, we don't live in shame around that story. As we heal and we let go, we need to call our spirit back and say that happened to us, and I don't need to bury the fact that it happened. I don't need to pretend that it didn't. I don't need to hide from it or feel in shame or cover it up or move on and just feel so insignificant and lonely. I can celebrate the fact that it happened. I can love myself when I think of those memories and those hurtful days. I can grieve with myself. I can allow and give myself permission to have lived this story. That's all you need to do, is give yourself permission to have lived this story and not have to hide it, not have to feel shame or guilt or the pressure to just bury it like it didn't matter, like it wasn't important. No, it was important. It happened to you. There's some truths in that. There's some things in there that you need to bring forward with you, right? In order to keep your spirit with you, alive with you, feeling like you, calling that spirit back into your body once again, right? And so sometimes holding on to this pain is like holding on to the wound, right? But that's not what we want to hold on to. We don't want to hold on to the wound and the pain. We want to hold on to the importance, the lesson. We want to hold on to our spirit, right? That's what we don't want to lose. We're afraid to lose our spirit. We're afraid to let it go. And we think by letting go of that wound, we'll be letting go of our inner child who needs our love and to be taken care of and is trying to get us to take care of ourselves, to see ourselves, to value ourselves, to love ourselves, to stay with ourselves, to not abandon ourselves. But we don't have to do that in order to give up the pain and the suffering. We can say, come with us, child. Come with us, inner child. You matter to me. You've always mattered to me. I'm sorry this happened to you. Come on. Let's go forward in a new, joyous life. I'll never forget you. I'll never abandon you. I'll never hurt you again. But you can let this go. Or you can let go of the pain and the suffering. You don't have to stand still in this moment, frozen in time, for me to acknowledge you and take care of you and stay with you and help you make this right and feel witnessed and seen. You can get up. You can leave it behind. You can come with me. I'll hold your hand and we'll walk forward together. And I promise, whenever you want to talk about it, we can stop, we can talk, but we'll keep going forward. We're going to have a great day, right? We're going to have a great life. You don't have to sit here forever. I will talk about this whenever you need to. I will show you that compassion whenever you need it. We'll keep, you matter enough to keep visiting this, to keep bringing this with us for as long as you need it. But we're not going to sit and stay and stagnate anymore here. We're going to call our spirit forward. We're going to bring it forward with me. You're safe to come forward now. So that's really what we need to do. is we need to call our spirit to come, to move forward and remind it it's important, it's valued, it's loved. We're never going to forget. It doesn't mean we're ever going to forget, but we're going to continue to live, and we're going to allow it to live as well as we move forward together. So you don't have to leave your illness or the significance or all the years that, or the memories that happened to you behind. It doesn't have to be buried in shame. They can come with you, and you can be complete and whole as you move forward. And remember that healing's a process, and it's okay to bring these parts with you as you heal, and to say, we're going forward. No matter what, we are going forward. Oh, my dogs. We're going to move forward. We're going to let this go now. We're ready to move on with our life. And we can bring this with us, not as a wound, not as a grief, not as a reminder of why we should always stay stuck, but as a reminder why we shouldn't, why we need to move forward. And by not abandoning yourselves, by allowing ourselves, by giving yourself permission to hang on to the parts that we still need to hold on to as we're moving forward. This can be a true gift of healing, and allow you to say, I'm ready now. Because a lot of times we're holding, saying, I'm not quite ready. But if you give yourself permission that you can do it without having to be perfect now, without having to be healed now, you can still move forward with your life, then you will find that act and going forward and being there for yourself, holding your hand, holding that little child's hand as you move forward with your life, and bringing that with you in ways that are different, right? They're not holding you back anymore. They're helping to push you forward. So I hope this video has been helpful, and I hope you really gleaned something important from it, and that you think on this a little and decide to let go and to move forward, and that it's okay to bring parts of it with you, the parts that you still need, but that they don't need to weigh you down anymore and hold you in place.